Hi, this is Chris. In this video, I want to go over one area of large format photography where I see people make the most mistakes, kind of do the riskiest behaviors, and I think it oftentimes comes back to bite them in the end. And it's fairly easy to get around some of these things. So let's talk about what those are. The area that I find in large format photography that's the most troublesome for people and causes them the most kind of mistakes and the most errors in the long run, 95% of that has to do with the film holders that we're using. The film that we have loaded in our film holders holds the potential for what we can do with our camera. If we're taking photography seriously, we need to take these seriously. So let's talk about some of the things that people do and some of the things to get around that. Now let me show you what I do with them first. We'll start out on a positive point here. We'll talk about kind of the best way to handle your film holders. So what I do with film holders is I usually use a group of 4 of them, sometimes 6 of them, depending what bag I'm using. I'll put them together. I blow them out before I put film in them. Every once in a while I'll blow them out with compressed air. Otherwise I just blow on them before I put film in them. Make sure there's no dust in there and they're clean. I do that in a clean environment as well to load the film. You want to make sure you're not doing it on carpeting or something. You want to keep the dust and the lint down and everything when you're loading film. But try to keep them as clean as you can. Then what I do with them is I put them in a Ziploc bag. I don't necessarily zip up the Ziploc bag, but I want them in the bag so that I can fold that over like that and have my film holders in there. Now they're free from dust and lint and everything. And then what I do to carry them, in this case it's 4, what I do is I put them in little zippered bags. This is an old Sundog bag. REI used to sell these. There's different makes of bags. I'll show you a couple more here in just a second. What I do is I put the film holders in there and I zip it up. Now I want a bag that zips up, preferably. Sometimes you might have just a flap that goes over and buckles, but I prefer to have a zipper on mine. A couple other bags we can show real quick. This is a bigger one. These are black, so they're hard to see. This is a bigger one. This is actually, I think this has an AARP tag on it. You know, the Retired Association thing. It was just a freebie giveaway, probably if you joined they gave you the bag. Really good place to find bags like this is thrift stores. Places like Salvation Army, AMVETS, disabled veterans type thrift stores, any kind of small used like jumbo sale type store are really good. The first thing I ever do when I walk in one of those stores, I go find out where they have the bags hanging and see if they have something like this. Because this bag, I can put probably a good 7 or 8 film holders in here in a bag, zip it up, they're nice and safe, they're clean, and they're good to go. Another thing that you can use are, this is actually a lunch bag. It's like one of those little insulated cooler bags like you put your sandwich in or something for lunch. Again, this is something that I can fit. I can fit 7 or 8 film holders in here. I still put them in a Ziploc bag, even though this is kind of plasticky anyway, just to make sure they're clean. But again, this zips up and keep your film holders clean. This one was like $6 at a department store, just not very much. And if you find the other bags, like that AARP one, at a thrift store, it's only going to be $2 or $3, probably $4 for a nice bag like that to carry your film holders in. So I have a whole bunch of different bags that I use. So keep the film holders clean, put them in a Ziploc bag if you can, and put them in something that keeps them out of direct sunlight. Now, the biggest mistake, speaking of direct sunlight, the biggest mistake that I see people make with film holders, let me grab one back out here again real quick. You know, the way these film holders are put together on our dark slide, this one's empty, but when we have our dark slide, it pulls out. Inside the film holder, in this sort of head end of it, there's a couple of fuzzy strips in there. And when we pull the dark slide out, those fuzzy strips, the little felt strips, or almost like velvet, they need to sort of close back in and seal up the light, the opening where we pull out the dark slide. You need to seal the light in there. What we don't want to do is test that. What we want to do is try to keep these things in the shade. Now, it's not always possible to keep film holders shielded from the sunlight, but a rule of thumb, a good rule of thumb to have for large format film holders is if we have film in these, it doesn't matter if it's exposed yet or not, when there's film in your film holder, you really don't want direct sunlight to hit your film holder. That's the best sort of rule to have for yourself, is avoid having direct sunlight hit your film holder. Whether it's outside the camera, in the bag, whatever. Don't let the sun hit your film holder. If you follow that one rule as best you can, you will get rid of 99% of your light leaks right off the bat. Because it's direct sunlight shining on our film holder that's going to cause a light leak. It's not being in the shade, it's not being in the clouds, it's not being, in a cave or something where we're going to have a problem. It's direct sunlight. Direct sunlight on your film holders is a bad idea, and if you can avoid it at all costs, avoid it at all costs. What I do with the film holders is I have them in the bag zipped up. I'll put the bag around my neck. If the sun's shining down on me, I just turn around so I shade them, pull out the one I want, zip up the others so they're back in the shade, and then under my focusing cloth, I will take the film holder, put it in the camera, and I'll just sort of tint the focusing cloth over the camera if I'm in direct sunlight to pull the dark slide out, expose the picture, and put the dark side back, and I just stay underneath the focusing cloth the whole time. That's really the best way to do it. If you don't have a focusing cloth, if you're using a jacket or something, go to a fabric store, a craft store or something that sells fabrics. Even big department stores nowadays sometimes have fabrics in them. Go there, just find some kind of nice black cloth that's, $3 or $4 a yard or something. Buy a couple yards of it. That's all you have to do. I have a focusing cloth that I made. I have a couple that I've ended up with that came with cameras over the years. They're heavy, like 2 or 3 layer things. But even just a layer of black fabric, if it's not heavy enough, buy 2 yards of it, fold it over and stitch it up, or even staple it. Just staple it up or something, just to double it up or something, just to give yourself a nice shade to work under if you're out in direct sunlight. Again, if it's cloudy, if you're in the shade, you're inside a building or something, not a big concern. Even if it's cloudy outside, I don't bother to really shade my film holders. It's direct sunlight that's the big problem. When you see a big old light streak coming down across somebody's image that they've made, that tells you right off the bat that image was made in direct sunlight and they weren't being careful. That's just 99% of the time or more. So direct sunlight really should not hit your film holders. That's a big rule of thumb. So other than sunlight hitting our film holders, there's a couple other things that we can point out about these. One thing I see people do an awful lot is they'll do this. They'll put the film holder in and they'll pull the dark slide out and then they sort of stick it back in like that while they make the exposure. That's also not a good thing to do. And the reason why is because we just created a big sail here. And if we're outside anywhere and the wind hits this thing, it can flip this and it's going to shake. It's going right into your film. It's going to shake the camera. It's going to shake the film. It's better to pull the dark slide all the way out. Don't leave it hanging out. There's a video on YouTube that I saw within the last couple of years. Somebody's outdoors. They do that very thing. They leave their film holder like that, and as you're watching the video, you can see the wind shaking their film holder. Not good, not good. Just don't do that. Pull it out, keep the thing in the shade, and don't be shaking your film holder when you don't need to. Another thing that we need to be careful of, and I personally would not want to do, we have our film holder. If you think about this, the way when we put this in the camera, there's a big square mating surface on here. Our film holder is going to touch all the way around here against the camera back. A lot of camera backs even have like a little fuzzy strip, like the Super Graphic does, to seal the light in there. And then we're also going to be contacting the back of the camera right here. Now, one of the things I see people do is they put tape in here. They put like a big piece of masking tape or something, Tri-X or something written on it. This is a mating surface against the back of the camera. You really don't want tape or stickers or anything in there. A couple of reasons for that. One is you just introduced a thickness in there that's not supposed to be there. So your film holder's not going to be sitting where it's supposed to be sitting. You just kicked it out a bit because of that tape you put in there. That's not a real good thing to do. The bigger problem with it is that you only put it on one surface. So you kicked this one out, which is going to make the rest of your film holder not sit quite where it's supposed to do, which is running a risk of having light leaks on it. So you really want your contact surfaces of your film holder to be clean. Don't have tape, don't have stickers, so that when you put them in the camera and they go in there and they seat where they're supposed to, there's nothing in the way keeping them from seating where they're supposed to. So no stickers, anything like that. The best thing to do with film holders is just number them. See, there's a number written on there. I don't know if you can see that or not. All of my film holders have a number front and back. And when we're going to go to record what we're doing with our exposures, just write down, film holder 58 is whatever. What I do on the bag, this is a good example of a messy film bag. What I do on the bag is I just take a big Sharpie and I just write right on the bag what's on there. That says EP4 on it. These are empty right now anyway, but that says EP4. You can see where it used to say Delta 100 and I just scribbled it out and I wrote EP4. So I just take a big Sharpie and I just write what's in the bag of the film holders. If I have like one holder that has a different kind of film in it, it just goes in its own bag and it's just pencil, it's just Sharpied on there, Delta 100 or something, if that one needs to be in its own bag to keep it separate so I know what film is in there. But you're better to mark the bag, don't mark the film holder. And then certainly don't be sticking tape all over. Plus, you're just putting adhesive and things on the film holder that you're probably going to have to clean off later and things too. Not a very good practice to do. So film holders are a big issue with large format photographers. I see people make a lot of mistakes with them, and I see people do things, you know, just recently I saw somebody out in a desert setting with a 4x5 film holder shoved in their back pocket, not in a bag or anything, just shoved in their back pocket, and they're walking around in the desert with a film holder, exposed to sunlight in their back pocket as they're walking around. That is not the way you should treat your film holder. Nope, it should be in a bag, it should be in a plastic bag, in a dark bag, and be kept out of direct sunlight until you're going to use it. Same thing with pulling dark slides and things. You want to be careful with them. Treat them with respect, because you've gone to the effort to do large format photography. You're buying film that costs a lot more than some of the other film. We're going to go to the hassle of developing the film, printing the film, or scanning it. We've got a whole process here. There's a lot of effort. If we're going to put that effort in, let's respect it. Because on large format cameras like this, where we're using the film holders, we have an incredible potential here to make images that are really outstanding. Why mess that up because you're being sloppy? So keep the film holders in the shade, keep direct sunlight off of them, treat them with respect. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.